Okay. Well, hello, everyone. It's Sandra Bargman here, proud Blue Waver. Yes. And welcome to the Blue Wave Cabaret 2024. I am live in the Hive with none other than Cabaret extraordinaire, Mr. Stephen Hanks. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, my dear friend. It's great seeing you. I wish I was in the Hive live.
Oh, me too. Well,
In
thank
person.
goodness for Zoom, though, we can do this. Stephen is tuning in from Sedona, for those of you who don't know Stephen, and I am tuning in from Harlem. I'm loving your teal room.
Thank you.
You match your room. I love this. And for those of you who have gone to the Blue Wave shows in the past, know that Stephen has teal blue wave shoes, suede shoes.
That's right. And they mainly come out for these shows. I don't
I
wear
love
them
it.
on a daily basis. By the way, you notice that the teal, I mean, the blue in the Blue Wave is a little different color, but this is sort of the Sedona,
Version of it.
yeah, the Sedona version of the Blue Wave.
Well, hey, anything blue in our book is a beautiful thing.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. So, okay, we're going to start with so we're here obviously to promote the Blue Wave Cabaret show that's coming up on Friday, May 24th at 7 p.m. and at the
Ending at 10.
I'm sorry.
Ending at 10.
Ending,
Kidding.
no, just kidding. Well, certainly the gathering afterwards where we're all
I just
gnashing our
frightened
teeth
away about 10 audience members.
at the world famous Don't Tell Mama in New York City on Restaurant Row. So I've had the great good fortune to have been a part of all of these Blue Wave cabaret shows that Stephen has created. I am a very proud Blue Waver with the rest of the cast that has also been a part of these shows over the years and through all of the numbers of them. Stephen wonderfully asked me in the Blue Wave show in 2022 to introduce him, and I am going to share that because it's so poignant and it really speaks about who Stephen is, and it really sets the tone for what we want to promote again today. So here we go. We're going to get it, folks.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hey, I'm Sandra Bargman, proud Blue Waver and raging libtard.
This is true.
I was very touched when Stephen asked me to introduce him for this event and to tell the story of how the Blue Wave series
You need to
came
get up
about.
to that mic.
Not because this story is a big one, but rather because this series has been so meaningful and so powerful for those of us performing in the shows. It's been a place to channel our talents and our passions in service of democracy. And we've all bonded over our collective anger and fear and have been able to channel that into a sense of hope and to take some action. And I was actually there with Stephen when the idea struck. All right. Yeah, baby. So the story goes, Stephen and I were seeing a show at Pangea, Jeff McCauley's show. Yeah, baby. And after the show, we decided to stick around for one more drink and, of course, bitch about the hellscape, the political hellscape, and bitch about Velveeta Trader Tot, you know, as you do. And 10 drinks and 10 shows later, here we are. But because I get to tell the story tonight, I'm going to tell the truth. Because democracy depends on the truth, right? It was my idea. The whole thing was my idea.
This is the point.
Stephen's political passion and his love of and involvement in the cabaret community merged that night at Pangea and gave rise to cabaret campaigns Ride the Blue Wave series, a series in which all of us performing this evening are deeply proud to be a part. We love you, Stephen. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Stephen Hanks.
Woo! Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
brings a tear to my eye.
Well,
Wow.
especially seeing right in the front to your
Right
left,
there, Sarah.
Sarah Rice, who unfortunately left us a few months ago and actually was going to be in this show. I mean, she was committed to being in this, and she was always very enthusiastic about even the shows that she wasn't a part of. She would come and do things like try to raise money by selling some of her little bath soaps that she made at home. So I mean,
And you've dedicated this performance to her, yes?
absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, and I'm going to mention this the night of the show. And this is one of the unfortunate things about getting up there in age. Since Sarah passed away, I've lost three other people who I considered pretty good friends from the cabaret world. Grace Garland, who was a tremendous blues singer who used to perform down in the Village. Ray Errol Fox, Lauren Fox's dad, who came to a lot of her shows and was a staple and became a friend. And of course, Peter Levy, who is the publisher of Cabaret Scenes magazine, who all three of these people I truly loved. And so it's been kind of a rough year in that way, but I'm going to acknowledge all of them at the show.
I'm so sorry for your loss, and that's wonderful you acknowledge them. For those of you that don't know Stephen, let me quickly just speak a little bit about his involvement in the cabaret community. He's a writer, editor, publisher, entrepreneur, producer, reviewer, performer, and master of ceremonies, a PR manager, and a baseball coach and sports enthusiast.
I'm a terrible multitasker. No.
Yes, a multi-hyphenate. Stephen began his career in New York City Cabaret as a reviewer for Cabaret Scenes in 2010. He became the lead reviewer and editor of BroadwayWorld.com Cabaret section in 2012. Stephen produced 7 cabaret variety shows for Urban Stage's Winter Rhythms Festival. He has produced and hosted Broadway World New York Cabaret Awards shows at the Metropolitan Room and at Joe's Pub. He has performed 12 Don McLean tribute shows at various New York City cabaret venues, and he has hosted all of the Blue Wave Democratic candidate fundraising shows, and which we are going to dive into now. So, Stephen, let's get the history of these shows. Now that we've shared that, it was born, you got this idea while he came on the scene, and we were contemplating the impending hellscape in the political landscape.
Yeah, well, the night that I came up with the idea with you sitting right next to me as we were having our cocktails, I was really struggling. Well, I was struggling since the day Trump was elected in 2016, and now we're talking about the end of 2017. So it was more than a year of stress over this. And desperately trying to figure out what I could do. As you know, my big hobby horse issue, which I always have said at all the shows, to me is the overarching umbrella issue that impacts every single other issue, is the issue of voting rights. And at the time that I was struggling with what to do, I was trying to see how I could channel my energy into that area. The problem is that all the major efforts that were going on were outside of New York City. Eric Holder, the former attorney general, had an organization in Washington. Stacey Abrams had already started up her voting rights groups in Georgia. So it was really hard to like wrap my head around what I could do other than write essays about the scene, which, you know, was only going to be gratifying to a point.
Yeah.
So as we were sitting at the bar that night, you remember, I was like thinking out loud, what can I do? What can I do? And suddenly, you know, the epiphany was, wait a minute. I produce cabaret shows in New York. I know that there are a lot of people in the cabaret world who are also politically committed in the way I am. And I just like put those two things together and thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to produce shows to raise money for candidates, because at that point we were headed into the 2018 midterms. And with Donald Trump in office at that point, Democrats desperately needed to flip the House of Representatives and hopefully win the Senate. And so those first 5 shows that I produced in 2018, and we started in April and we were doing one almost every other month.
Right.
I actually started with 4, all women, because and most of the shows have been all women, because I've always felt that when you look at all the issues, the major issues that involve, and especially now with abortion being
Mhm.
biggest issue, and also because there are a lot more women in cabaret than men, let's face it. The first 4 shows were all women shows, and the first few went so well, and I had so many guys that I knew that were kind of pushing me like, why can't we do one? So I added a 5th show with all men, and then
Right.
and you know, we flipped 40 seats in 2018
So
and took
exciting.
that.
So exciting. And for the cast, speaking for all of the cast members, it was such an extraordinary way for us to, and this is something I talk on the edge of every day podcast about often, is this desire to merge, to go through to express your grief, to express your anger through your art. The combination of art and activism is so powerful. And all of us, you know, you felt it, of course, obviously, and all of us that performed in it were able to really feel as though, you know, yes, we're just singing in a small show in New York City, but it felt enormous in our hearts and in our intention.
And by the way, it also, I think, reminded people that the history of cabaret has
Yeah, totally. It's
started out as
political.
political. I mean, going back to Germany in the late 20s
Yeah.
and the 30s, and
This,
even in New York with you know, the great Mark Nadler, you know, did a whole cabaret show about all the gay men and cross-dressing men who performed
right.
in New York and did shows about that issue in, you know, the 30s. You
Right,
know,
of
I
course.
mean, so, you know, what was so rewarding about working with all the people, and I believe if you put all the shows together, we've had more than 30 different performers that have been in one of these shows.
Glorious.
Many like you have been in numerous shows, but that's what we've had, and that's how many people have committed. And what's so beautiful about it is not only are they invested in it politically and artistically, but the intelligence that everybody has brought to the songs that they've selected that resonates. Some you'd never believe could be considered a political song, but in the way they're interpreted and
The
arranged.
conviction and the
Yeah.
storytelling is extraordinary.
Yeah, like, you know, when in the very first show, I remember Remy Block was in the first cast, and she picked "The Fool on the Hill" to pick
Brilliant.
as her song.
Yeah.
And the way she delivered it, it gave it a whole nother, you know, she was singing about Trump.
Yeah, of course.
So, you
Indeed.
know, so that's been what's so impressive to me, and why, you know, I'm gonna everybody in the show, I'm just gonna love them forever because of the passion and commitment they brought to this to make it happen.
Wonderful. Amen. Well, let's move on to why this 11th Blue Wave Cabaret 2024 show is so important. Speak to us about that.
Okay.
Let's promote this. Boom.
First of all, as I mentioned to you before we went on the air, truth be told, in 2022, I did the 10th Blue Wave show right around the same time, Memorial Day weekend in May, like we're going to do this time. And both times it was because I had to come to New York for a wedding. In 2022, Dawn DeRoe is getting married, who's going to be in this show. And this time I have a nephew getting married in upstate New York. And I thought, hey, I'm going to be in New York for Memorial Day weekend. Let's put on a show.
And it's we are on the edge this year. Please let us do another show and channel our rage, our anger, and our activism.
And frankly, I wish we didn't have to. That's what's so dispiriting and what's so disillusioning. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we sat at that bar in 2017 when I came up with this idea and you were totally on board with it. I mean, we're talking 7 years later. And now, and I thought the danger was high then.
Right.
And so to speak to your question about why we're doing
Why
it
is it
again,
so?
I mean, I hate to sound like a crazy alarmist, but this
Sound
is
like a crazy alarmist. People
this is a
need to hear this.
This is a 5-alarm fire right now.
Amen.
I mean, it's not just about, you know, keeping a pathological lying sociopath out of office, so that's a very important thing to do. Donald Trump has been a vehicle from the beginning, from the forces in this country, and I call it the unholy trinity at this point, of white supremacy, Christian nationalism, and right-wing American oligarchy. And those three elements, the religious fanaticism, the racism, and the people in this country who don't want to be taxed and want to become oligarchs
who truly and genuinely believe they're better than everyone else.
Exactly. They have merged their forces, helped by all these right-wing think tanks, like the Federalist Society. I mean, I may go off on tangents here once in a while, but you know, this recent news about Eileen Cannon indefinitely delaying the Donald Trump documents case.
Yeah.
There is no way in the world that she isn't being coached and manipulated,
of course,
by people in the right-wing think tanks who recommended her appointment to Trump to begin with, like they recommended the 3 Supreme Court justices.
Indeed.
Right? You know, so and it's not enough just for Joe Biden to win. I mean, the reason why the theme is New York can save our democracy for this show is we almost took the House in 2022. You know, we had a really good showing, but we didn't quite make it. And the reason we didn't make it was, for whatever reason, there were 5 Republicans who won Congress seats in New York in districts that Biden beat Trump in. So those seats are clearly flippable. And by the way, one of the seats, which we don't have to raise money for, was the George Santos seat, which is now has a Democrat because of the special election. So it's not enough for Joe Biden just to win re-election. We must win the Congress and the Senate if we're going to get any of these things that we want to accomplish and prevent this democracy from blowing up.
Yes. So so how can people get to see this show?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
don'ttellmama.com. Well, actually, what is it? Don't Tell Mama, and maybe Don't Tell Mama NYC.
NYC.
Yeah.
Don't Tell Mama NYC.com. You can reserve your ticket, order your ticket, purchase it there.
Right.
Bring friends, spread the news. When this interview goes live, share it with everyone. Share our beautiful poster with the 16 beautiful faces of all of the people who are involved in this gorgeous, gorgeous, talented people sharing their talent and their activism. And a picture, of course, our host with the most, and with our musical director, Tracy Stark, and the beautiful Sarah Rice, who is our with us in spirit. So that
And
again,
also, yeah.
no, go
I
ahead.
just want to add about the fundraising part of it.
Mm.
What ends up happening with the money that we raise is that we just divide it among the candidates that we're supporting. So, I mean, if it's going to 5 candidates, I'll just take, if we raise $2,000, hopefully we'll get that much.
Yes.
We'll just divide it among the 5 candidates. And by the way, I'm still hoping that one of the candidates that we're going to support might end up showing that
Right.
night.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be marvelous?
Yeah, I'm working with the campaign manager to get one of the people here. So, I mean, if that happens, great. They at least know about it, and they've already expressed like their appreciation for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the intention is enormous, enormous.
And the show is going to be great. I mean, we're talking about brilliant performers. I'm glad you gave a shout out to Tracy, because Tracy, out of the 11 shows, Tracy will be doing her 6th. And she's been amazing through this whole thing, donating her time and talent like everybody else. So I'm looking
Glorious
forward.
thing.
Yeah.
So again, Don't Tell Mama at nyc.com for tickets. It is on Friday, May 24th at 7 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. So come early. Oh, 6:15. So come early, settle in, and get ready to raise the roof for democracy in the Blue Wave Cabaret 2024. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you for doing this, Sandra. I love you, and I can't wait.
I love you. Can't wait to
see
see
you on
you
the 24th and hear you sing again.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Well, bye.
Take care.